as mentioned in the intro, you're in one of the most respected gyms in the world. In I guess Fight Central. And you have a lot of these athletes come to Xtreme Couture. How what are some of the problems that you face with that? Because obviously over here, Robert's got his camp. City Kickboxing, granted, they've now got a few that are in the works, but like generally speaking over here, we have this one mainstay and then you kind of have a camp around that person, right? But theoretically, a lot of that time, whether it be from the coaches, from the sparring partners, is all about that one person where, a problem that you have, I guess, is that you have many in your stable of fighters, right? Which is a good thing in the sense of having sparring partners, because I always say, like, iron sharpens iron. So, like, it's good to have that talent all under the same roof. But when it comes to having fight camps and preparing your fighters, how hard is it to kind of, I guess, divide your time, because you're not having to just focus on one potential fighter. You might have like 3 or 4 in the works at the same time. What kind of problems do you face with that? And how do you deal with those problems?
I think you have to be true to yourself in the fact of you only have so much time. And I think what makes me a successful coach personally is my hands-on time that I spend with my fighters, that kind of sweat equity, and I'm not able to do that if I decide to take a large amount of fighters. So the nice thing for us at Xtreme Couture is we have so many great coaches in the gym, and we're able to help one another. But at the same time, the fighters feel like they're getting that one-on-one with their coach. So for me personally, like, I feel like having 7 to 10 fighters underneath you is about the sweet spot, and because you understand that, like, not everybody's going to be fighting at the same time, so you're able to kind of schedule, okay, well, I know Dan Ige is not going to fight for another couple months. Now I have these fighters that are going to kind of turn over and they're going to fight. So you're always staying busy, but at the same time, you're not necessarily overwhelmed. And I've told fighters, hey, look, I don't know if I have enough time to coach you, in the regards of, I don't feel like you're not good enough or anything like that. I don't want to not give you 100%. And if I take you on, then I feel like I'm going to be cheating you out of what you deserve. So, and that's been hard, because in like 2018, when we went on that PFL run with Lance Palmer and Vinny, had Dan Ige, and I felt like I was gone literally maybe every weekend, and the travel was hard. And at what cost? You're not home with your family, and you lose that time. So I had to be very selective, and make sure that I'm coaching the people that I feel like they're motivating me. So being true and honest to myself, I felt like was very important in knowing the guys that men and women that I wanted to work with the most.
And how does the process all work? Is it that the fighters come to you, or do you choose the fight? Because as you say, you've got multiple coaches under the XC banner. So say you've got 3 fighters fighting on UFC, and then you obviously have Ty or whatever, and he's fighting for Bellator, and so you're not even like, there's no chance of you even like fighting everyone. How does that all work? Like, do you go, okay, we've got 6 fighters, and then you allocate the coaches, or do the fighters choose who they want in their corner, or like who makes those decisions?
It's usually on the fighter. They're the ones that hire their staff through the gym. If you're training at our gym, we have a lot of guys that kind of come in and cross train, and they might not use anybody in our gym. And they might have their coaches from home, or they might have somebody from another gym that they feel more comfortable with. And I really have no problem with that, as long as they're getting the attention that they feel that they need. Now, for me, I try to make sure that I'm very open and communicate well with my fighters, to where they know where I'm at and what I have going on. So, for example, Ty came to me just recently and said, "Hey, I was offered another fight. It was this day. I'll try to make sure that I'm booked for that weekend, or I'm available for that weekend, and I communicate that with the rest of my fighters. So if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, coach, can you corner me that same weekend?" Ty already came to me first, said, "Hey, look, can I have you for this weekend?" And then again, like you don't want to put money involved, but you want to make sure that it's financially correct for you and your family as well as it is for the fighters. So if I'm already booked, I'm booked, and that's kind of how I stick with it.
So is it a first come first serve basis? Is that, or have you ever like taken one and then another one's come in and you've gone, well, you know, whether it be say a title fight or something, you've gone, look, I have to now take this, even though I've said. Have you ever had moments like that before?
Fortunately, nothing to that regard. I've had a couple where, I had a prior engagement with doing a military tour, and then a fighter came to me and said, "Hey, can I take you for that weekend?" And I just don't feel right breaking that commitment, especially with somebody or something like the military, of course. But I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen many a times where a coach was put in a scenario where they got a short notice and the pay was more, and I understand that. Like I've been in the sport long enough that I get like, you have to be choosy. You have to make the money while you can make the money. Sometimes some of the fighters don't pay you what you deserve. So you feel like, if Joe Benavidez called me up and said, "Hey, I need you to come with me tomorrow for this," I'll drop everything for that dude. We're going, just because not only Joe takes very good care of his people, but just the type of person that he is. So, thankfully I haven't been thrown in that scenario enough that I try to communicate my schedule as best as I can. And I've had guys not take fights because they knew I wasn't available.